Alright. Should be a pretty good spot. Not that way, that way. This fucking thing's going flat though. Could have sworn I charged this damn thing just the other day. Alright. Should have done this first. Ah, that's a bit better. Sick. What's going on, guys? Figured I'd have another go at doing some live stream. Like to try and do it a little bit more often. Figured it'd be a pretty good segment, live stream Fridays. Yo. Ethel's still up on the voice. Nah, not in this shed. Did think about doing one for entry to Adam LZ's bloody contest, but didn't have the time. Couldn't be fucked. Maybe one day, if I can come up with a good enough reason. So, tomorrow I'm hoping I can go and pick up all my equipment to make a start on this thing. That's going to be a bit interesting. Pretty sure once I get the motor out of this, I'm going to find myself with a large hiccup. Day job is sort of half mechanic. I work for Pettis Suspension at the moment, but I am trade qualified. I have my Cert 3 in Light Vehicle Mechanical Technology, I think it is. So yeah. Was that about turboing it, man? Comments. Everything is stock. This thing started off when I first brought the car for 600 bucks. First thing I did to it was a eBay special 2.5 inch catback redback exhaust. It's probably the first thing I could recommend anybody to do. Then suspension. Dial in your suspension, you'll be surprised how well the suspension will change a car. It does happen a lot, but I don't mind. Good to get the knowledge out there, that's what I'm here for. If I had $1 for every time I'd asked though, I could probably build this better and that better, but anyway. Might actually have a couple of dollars to spend on them. Not much, Shazzy gang, yourself. I am missing my drink, but it's all the way over there. I couldn't be bothered to go and get it. Yeah, to those that are just tuning in, Still working at Petters. I've been working for them for 5.5 years now. I am about at my wit's end with the place, and not really sure what I'm going to be doing, but I did my apprenticeship with them, and well, yeah, I do a Hilux build. I used to have a Rodeo before I got the Colorado, and the motor in it was rubbish as well, so I did contemplate an Ecotec or an LS into it before I sold it, but I sold it. So Hilux, I have had one at work with a V6 in it, an Ecotec actually. Looks like it'd be a great swap for them, unless it's a diesel. If it was a diesel, I could never rip a diesel out of a Hilux. The petrol ones, they piss them off and go an Ecotec in it all day. I would like to toy with what are they? The Rodeo V6s. I hate rebuilding CVs, they suck. The grease in them stinks, it goes fucking everywhere, and it's just a horrible time, but I could put up with it if I had a fucking GDR, so I don't know, mate. Yeah, doing pretty well there. Was it GDR or GDR? I couldn't quite read the comment, but sounds like it was a pain in the ass either way. I couldn't hold off anymore. Need to clean this place out a bit more. Thank you for everyone who commented on the last video for this thing. Thoughts on Gearheads Oz? Nice couple of blokes. He did. Look, I'm not going to put this in the video. I offered my help. He got angry at me. I'm not offering my help anymore. Nice couple of blokes, but not really my scene. Yeah, he's crazy. He's walking on a bit of a thin line there, I think, but good on them. They're doing their own thing. Thanks to everyone that commented on the last video of this. Glad to see she's getting a bit of hype. I'm really excited for it. It's going to be interesting diving into sort of a realm, and yeah, mate, still alive. Financial mistake. R32 GDR in this climate will never be a financial mistake in my eyes, especially being my favourite type of Skyline ever. Diff gears in the Commodore are 3.9s. They're motive items. They're supposed to have the one with the pin to have the rubber coupling. If you saw my video before I announced this one, I had the tail shaft rear section off to nip up the pinion nut because it was a bit loose for some stupid reason. But I ground the pin off for the rubber guibo to run the 4-bolt flange, because these earlier tail shafts, when I contacted a drive shaft company to get a better drive shaft made, they asked me which one I had. I said I have this one in it at the moment, and they said okay, well that's good, keep that one because it is the stronger of the generations. Apparently when they went VY on, yeah, VY on, the ones with the uni, not the CV, they have a thinner wall tail shaft tube and are a bit weaker. So this one so far has been hanging on. It just has a bit of a vibration at 100. Either it's that uni that has a bit of play in it that's doing it, and if it's still there, once I replace that uni, I'll pull it out and have it balanced. Yeah, dude, I'd love to go for a spin in R32 GTR. That would be amazing. If you haven't seen my video, Fuji Speedway GDR Day was sick. Seeing thousands and thousands of GDRs, Ikoskas, R33s, R34s, 35s. There was thousands of them everywhere. It was the fucking most amazing thing I've ever seen. Lots of 32s as well. It was sick. No, the paint on the Commodore is 2-stage, base coat colour, top coat clear. It's sort of a special blend I had mixed up for me like 8 years ago. Well, it depends on what you would define a stage 3 cam as. You sort of need to steer away from the stage 3 nonsense. It doesn't really mean much of anything at all. It's a drag car. Well, you should do a cam and a converter. Depends on your power levels, goals, time you're trying to run, etc. How's everybody's Friday night going? Especially with this corona nonsense going on. The Combi makes 755 to the hubs, approximately 710, 720-ish to the tyre if you remove a couple percentage for wheel loss. That also equates to 800 or more at the flywheel though, so it's not stuffing around. Most amount of power it's ever made to date. My goal for it was 800 horsepower. Especially out of an Ecotec. People think and look at an Ecotec and go, oh, it's just a fucking grocery getter. Yeah, NZ's been on top of it from day dot, I think. Your Prime Minister announced lockdown pretty quick, which is what Australia should have done, I reckon. Yeah, man, I know. I'm keen to get out to Willowbank. I want to get a crack at Kevin and just see what this thing's going to run. I want to get a 10-second pass. When I first built the car, originally, the first time I built the motor, yeah, strange concept's just weird to me. I've never really been able to understand it. A little bit of work to the motor, forged rods and pistons and stuff. I'm going to explain a lot more about it. No, I'm actually too terrified to drive this thing. One, because it's defectable, and I won't talk about why, but two, because I don't need the extra attention or the fine for taking this thing for a drive. Although I have thought about driving it to work, but I do need to get fuel in it, because it always fucking needs fuel. Yeah. I don't know. It's a bit of a 6 of one, half a dozen of the other with that. I'm dying to take it for a drive. Eurotalk. What do you mean by Eurotalk? Yeah, E85 life. Travel from petrol station to petrol station. Nah, I mean, I can't bag on it too much. It's not too bad actually. Shift kit before L60E. Yeah, shift kit's worth it. They just improve your shifts a lot. I am going to keep the one I have as stock as I can for as long as I can, but in that scenario, if it's not going to shift by 1,000 foot especially, shift kit straight away. Corvette servo also helps a lot, especially with second. I'd like to try and maybe throw an extra clutch and steel disc in there, try and get it to lock up. Shift kits are great, except when you get them shifting so hard that they chirp second every time and the cops fucking pull you over all the time. That'd suck ass. I've got to fix that damn rust hole in it. Yeah, so... Yeah, I do hear it a lot in Euro nonsense. It just drives me nuts. I mean, how do you define a stage 1 to a stage 2 to a stage 3 or a stage 4? They have their differences, obviously, but if someone comes to me and says, oh, I got a stage 4, I'll go, oh yeah, that's nice, I have no idea what that is. No, I haven't hit Archerfield in the commie. I have thought about it. Ever since I've painted it though, I'm way too terrified. I do have a drift build that I want to do though. Yeah. So this shit in itself sort of took the engine and well, not really the transmission. The transmission was going to be a manual for that, but it took the engine for my drift build and pushed it to the back. So this has taken priority over the drift build. But I am going to do it. We brought the Missus an 06 Subaru Outback. Diving into the EGA realm. Hopefully we can keep head gasket in it, but it should be alright. It is due for a timing chain soon though, so I'll probably get onto that next year sometime. At least with the Subi we can buy parts for it. Trying to buy bits for this was impossible. I tried to get a couple of O-rings to fix a couple of the oil leaks and it was painful. Yeah, that's right. Where's the definition for each stage? Ooh, that L67 short motor's tempting if I had some money. Yeah, I've thought about hitting up Luke. Yeah, not even just for some track time, but just to maybe collab and do some stuff. Seems like a pretty nice bloke. I really don't want to take Ethel out there, but yeah, I don't know, maybe one day we can work something out. Maybe if you guys go and hand him enough, he'll come and hit me up. Hey Daniel, how's it going, mate? Nitro, that L67 is very tempting. Would have to work something out. Oh yeah. Uh, 224 at 50. No, that's fairly sizable. The one in this is 229, 237 at 50, roughly. Advertised is about 290, but no one ever bothers with the advertised. Oh, thanks, mate. I can think of plenty of other Aussie YouTubers that are doing a far better job than me, but I'm getting there. Yeah, I know. It actually rained here today. That was a real nice break. It's cooled the place down so much. Looking forward to winter coming. What else? Maybe I need to tear up these stock tyres on this thing. Oh, that's right. The Beamers have the same stud pattern as Holden. Sick. Looks like I got some burners. I'd love to go out and do a Friday night drift out at QR. Every time I go though, with this corona nonsense, I can't do shit. But every time I go, I'm either got to do something on the car. Last time I was going to go, I pulled the motor out of this and tore it all down again to rebuild it. It was just after I went to Willowbank. If you haven't, I watched it, my video again on it last night. Yeah, much nicer, especially out here in the shed. It gets bloody hot in this shed. Yeah. So last time I went to Willowbank, this thing couldn't even break the 13-second mark. No matter how much timing or boost I crammed into it, just wasn't making power. Oh, excuse me, got the hiccups. So that was when I decided to yank the motor out of it, tear it all down and rebuild it all again, which is what a lot of you guys have seen recently. So this is actually the second time this motor has been together, and I really don't want to do it a third. The transmission's getting a little noisy too, so I think I've got to take that out. Yep, manifolds are coming. Basically, I'm just waiting for someone who is happy with the price and the product, wants to make a start and wants to deposit me the half so that I can order all the bits and pieces, make it, and then once they pay me the remainder, we'll ship it out and work on all of that. So they are coming. As soon as I can find someone that's keen on doing something, I will. Otherwise, if I have some spare money, I don't think I will now I started this, I'll I want a lot of Turbo L67 pages. Never really wanted a supercharged one. I've repaired a couple of them. The sound is awesome, don't get me wrong, I love the way that they sound. That whine is sick. Hey, sweets. It depends. So I'm going to be doing 3 tiers of manifolds. I don't watch Sick Puppy. I never heard of him actually. Seen a bit of Clutch Kick Junkies, I think it is, and it is RB. Used to toy with RBs. I do have a photo of one in one of my VHs, and that was going to be what I was going to be building. Shit, this is going back like 6 or 7 years ago now. Camera. It's difficult. You can start with your phone. I started with a Sony Action Cam. I'm now using a Canon. Canon's pretty good stuff. I like the Canon stuff. My wife's dad worked for Olympus. G'day Dale. Wife's dad worked for Olympus, so I can get a lot of Olympus stuff really cheap. And it seems to be really good from the stuff that I've seen him using of it, but he uses pretty top tier stuff. But Canon, I recommend Canon. Start with the Canon, they're pretty good stuff. They got good quality. I mean, if you see my videos and you have any issues with the quality on them, by all means, but that's what I'm using at the moment, Canon. No, I don't want a VL. Sorry bro, but I hate VLs. VB, VC, VH, VK, yes. No VL. Allotex, yeah. I think they're a good thing apart from their timing chain problems. I'd love to dabble into playing with a bit of boost on one, but yeah, sorry sweets. When I was a teenager they were everywhere, everyone had them, they were popular. I don't know, it's the same as Tiranas, everyone had Tiranas or VLs, and it drove me crazy because it's all I saw on the streets, which is why I brought a VH. Even friends of mine had VLs. I think I even brought a wagon of his to rob the diff and gearbox out of it. I think I still got the diff sitting at my mum's in the shed somewhere. It's just my opinion, man. I think they're okay for what they are, but yeah. Alright, nice. I'd take the VX over the VL, but I mean, VLs are going up in value, man. Where did I grow up? I grew up here in Brisbane. I was born in Brisbane. I grew up in Brisbane. I'll probably die in Brisbane. Yeah. Yeah, no worries, Scott. When you get the time. Shit, what was I raving on about before? I kind of would have rather the LS1 VN, to be honest. Hiluxes are alright and they're versatile, but they got too much hype. We need to bring the hype down for the Hilux. Street racing, not anymore. I don't back down if someone comes up against me. Ah, yeah, the 3 stages of manifolds. Right, I'll get onto that in a second. Okay, but street racing. I used to go hang out at skids. Actually, I took this thing to the skids years ago when I first got it and was doing loops in a cul-de-sac and fishtailing in the wet. And I had my fun. And that's why I'm not really into the gearheads Oz scene, because I've been there, done that, gotten a lot of trouble, wasted a lot of money, and it's out of my system now. I just want to make shit go fast. The 3 stages of manifolds are going to be the entry level set, which is going to be about $800. It'll consist of standard driver side manifold, wrong side for you guys, but driver side manifold. I'll custom make crossover pipe with flex tube and V-band connections to a custom made, probably a log style, because the factory manifold is a log style, with the turbo flange on it in whatever flange size you need, T3, T4, T25. I don't know why you bother with a T25 on one of these. Not homebrew, this is Suntory, Japanese scotch. I got a big 3 litre bottle of it from my wife's dad when he came to visit, and I'm just about at the end of it. It makes me want to cry. Second stage of manifolds are going to be both custom made, drivers and passenger side, but they're going to be the log style that I had on this for years, with a custom crossover, all V-bands, and again the same T3 or T4 flange that you want on the turbo side. And stage 2 is going to be around $1,200 plus shipping for all of them. And stage 3 is going to be the Big Mac Daddy, same as what's on this thing, 3-in-1 collectors, big 2.5-inch crossover pipe. They'll all have the flex joint because they bend head studs. If they don't, ask me how I know. And yeah, T3 or T4 flange, whatever you want on it. They're going to be about $2K though, just because they have about 2 weeks worth of labour in it, if not more. I do want to try and get a bandsaw here, just because it's going to make life a little bit better to make them. I also want to try and talk with Mace about getting a throttle body for this thing, because it still is only a standard throttle body, which is probably, if I don't talk with them and get a throttle body for this, I'm going to do an exhaust cutout on it, which is going to be the next mod. Try and make it a little bit more louder than what it already is, because it needs to be louder, I guess. But yeah, so they're the 3 styles of manifolds. Either they're going to be the 3 styles of manifolds I'm going to be making. If no one puts their hands up and says I want one, here's the deposit, then when and if I get some time and money, I will make one and plop it up onto the website. Yes, I've been defected in that for catch can venting to atmosphere and the screamer pipe. It was an RBT. Yeah, she was restricting a bit in the stock throttle body. But yeah, it was an RBT. It was the day the turbo shit itself on that thing. So the T70 turbo that was on it was just like an eBay special. I got it off Gumtree. The cop looked at it. He was okay in the end, but I'll get to the story. It was an RBT. It was the day the turbo shit itself. I just had it rebuilt by a company. because it was an eBay turbo and a copy of some, can't remember what the brand was now. He said he couldn't warranty it because it was an eBay turbo. I said, yep, right, whatever, rebuild it. 1973. I'd have a Gemini if they go that early. I really want a Gemini. Yeah, anyway, turbo shit itself. So, bursting away, I had to go pick up a car for my mum. We just bought a car for my mum somewhere out of the whoop whoop. Anyway, dropped my mate off, he's driving mum's car back. I have a dog, he's at my mum's, I've got to go get him. His name is Nismo. Yeah, I named him after Nissan. I wanted a car name for my dog. Nismo was the only thing I could think of at the time, and I love Nissans. Yeah. So I picked up this car. My car starts smoking like a chimney and makes no boost anymore. I'm going, oh, okay, there's a problem with the turbo. So I'm just puttering along trying to get this car that I've just brought for my mum with my mate driving to work so that we could drop it off, get it roadworthy and whatnot. And I go through an RBT, instantly sees the smoke, pulls me up. Yeah, I love Gemini hatch. I really like the 80s ones though, the sedan ones. I had a friend when I was a teenager that had one, it was purple and had underglow on it and I loved it. I was jealous of it ever since I saw it, but I'd really love to get one of them. Anyway, this guy pulls me into the RBT. Says, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, look, I just brought a car for my mum. He goes, oh, yeah, right. Hey, mate, how you going? Insane burnout. Nice to see you joining in. Currently talking about defects. Nah, someone's already asked about shop skids. Maybe in the driveway one day. We'll see. I'm not really a skidder. Anyway, pull into this RBT. Tell him, you know, I just bought this car for my mum. Gives me a breath test. Comes back negative. I'm like, yep, sweet. Knew I wasn't drinking. Goes to me mate, gives him a breath test. Yeah, he drives off. Sits and waits around because he doesn't know where he's going. Comes back, drug tests me. I'm like, okay, here we go. So he's going to throw the book at me. Gives me the drug swab, goes back, comes back negative, as I knew it would. And he comes back, goes, alright, well that's passed. He goes, alright. So I want you to pop the bonnet. Pop the bonnet. They see the turbo, a couple of them come and have a little meeting and congregation around the front of it and eyeballing the shit out of it going, oh, turbo. I'm like, oh, shit. Here we go. Of course, they spot the screamer, spot the cash can venting to Atmo. They pull me out of the car, tell me that I'm not allowed to be like that, ask me who did the work. I'm like, I did the work. You know that's illegal? Yeah, I know. Well, what are you doing with it like that? Rah. Anyway. Next thing, he goes to me, alright, jump in the car, put it in first, and I want you to hit the key and load it up. And I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck is this gonna do? And I'm like, oh, so I start the car, not understanding what he meant. And he goes, no, turn it off, put it in first, let the clutch out, and then start it. I'm like, what? What are you checking there? He goes, oh, I want to see if your diff stuff from doing skids. I'm like, how the fuck is this gonna do anything? Okay, sure, whatever. Start it up, doesn't do anything. He walks around, feels me tyres, feels the front. Oh, it tried to defect me because it didn't have a petrol cap on it at the time because I broke the fucking thing off. Cried about it for a week and goes to me, oh, you got no petrol cap up? I'm like, yeah, I know. Just about none of the Commodores on the street have one on it either. How are you not defecting those? He goes, oh, it's a defect, you can't have it without it. I said, yep, okay, whatever. And then tells me to sit back in my car and goes and writes me out. He just did me on a minor for the Screamer and the catch can. It was a few $100 fine and no points. And yeah, that was it. Sent me on my way. Oh, that's right. He spotted the smoke. He goes, "Oh, I noticed your car was smoking before." I said, "Yeah, it just happened before on the highway." He goes, "Nah, your rings are fucked, mate. They've been coming for ages. Little did you know that it was a forged motor that I'd just built months ago, and it was the turbo that had shit itself." I'm like, "Okay, sure, if you think so, mate." I'm like, "It just happened on the highway, mate, but whatever." And got away from the RBT, pulled into a place, popped the charge pipe off the throttle body, threw it in the car, and just limped it home NA. At which point I found that either the front nut on the compressor wasn't quite nipped up enough or something, and it had just spun itself off, pushing the turbine shaft out. It munched the compressor wheel, the compressor housing, and the turbine at the same time. But yeah, fun. Yeah, SLR 5000s are expensive. My boss has one. They were everywhere when I was a teenager, so I can't really stand them. Thanks, Jazzinator. I'm doing well. I am keen on the build as well. Sandman, 75,000. He should keep on. He should hang on to it because they're only going to get more expensive. Yeah, that's what my mate had too. The Gemini had the 2-litre Isuzu motor in it. It was stock as a rock, but it was a manual. It had been resprayed in this really sick purple, had underglow on it and everything. I was so jealous of it. One with a chrome bumper, I'd buy another VH, and I'd put that motor in it probably. Yeah, pedal vans are cool, but they're not really my bag. Yeah, got me shop dog. Got to get him back here. Seen a full black turbo VZ. It doesn't ring any bells. I've only seen maybe 1 or 2 VZs. 99 VT. That's sweet, mate. Tuning is probably the hardest part with these things. I might try and dive into how to put a map sensor on the factory ECUs, but I've heard it's a pretty in-depth process, so I'm not really keen on doing it. Stock cradle, new axles. It's got the M80 diff out of a Monaro, and that's it. Stock wheel bearings. Those wheel bearings are done 340,000 or something. What's that, Sweets? What's your brother got in Brizzy? You just need to put some aftermarket poly bushes in it. I have one set and the inside. I need to do the outside as well. I wouldn't put a T5 behind it. I'd put a T56, but yes, I'd slap an Ecotec into a Gemini. I reckon it'd be sick. Actually, I'd probably go a Glide or a... Oh shit. Thank you, Julian, for the $50, mate. I really appreciate that. First ever donation I've ever got. Don't know what else to say. If I was going to do a Gemini, I'd probably put a Glide or a Turbo 400 with it and just make it a drag car, because the thing would be an animal. Actually, back in the day, when I was reading up, I was reading up and I saw a lot of supercharged 6s in the... Shit, what was it? Yeah, Geminis. It was similar to the ones that I loved, the 4-door ones. I think it might have been an NZ. He was doing a bit of track day with it, and it seemed like a bit of a beast. I'm not sure about New South Wales. You blokes have got some weird laws, like 12 months roadworthy thing, which I'm so thankful that we don't have here, because neither of these cars would pass ever. Nice. Doesn't ring any bells, Sweets. You'd have to send me a link to it on Facebook, man. Julian, I can't get over that $50, mate. You're a fucking legend. I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to do with it. Actually, yeah, I do. I'll probably buy the throttle body for that thing. Turbo Ecotech manual kitted Turbo 700 in a Gemini. That would be sick. I'd love to see that. Turbo 700s are a little bit weak. When I inquired about getting a 4L60 for this thing built to handle 1,000 horsepower, everyone laughed at me. I have found one company that said that they'd do it. I just don't have the money for it, so T56 it is until it explodes. Nah, we don't need to get pink slips. So we get one roadworthy on the car when we first register the car, and that's it. As long as we keep that roadworthy registration up to date, we don't have to get a roadworthy on it again until the registration runs out, and we need to get a roadworthy to then get it re-registered. It's pretty sweet. Yeah, yeah. YouTube always takes their bit. Sucks because my videos don't get enough views for me to make any sort of decent money. I make maybe 20 or 30 bucks a month, and that takes a month for them to pay it into my AdSense account, and then from there it has a $100 threshold, so they don't pay a payment out until it gets over $100. So then it takes like 3 or 4 months for me to get that $100 from my YouTube ad rev. But it is what it is. I'm just enjoying building my cars and making content for you guys. I'd love to make the T56 a dog box, but have you found out the price for those? You could send me a link on the website, cornfedboost.com. There's a contact us page. It'll send me an email straight away. You can add a link in there or something to it. C18 Gemini would be sweet as well. The t-shirts in the cupboard. I just ordered my hoodie, so I should announce this now. For those of you that don't know, on the website I've just announced 3 new hoodies. I'm really happy with the way of them. I've just ordered myself one and one for the missus. They just have Corn-Fed Boost on the front. One of them has my logo on the back. The other has Ethel on the back with Ethel, saying Ethel in text. And the other one just has my logo here on the boobie. So I'm pretty happy with it. They're fairly reasonably priced. I didn't really mark them up too much to try and keep them cost effective for you guys. The postage is what kills me the most, but yeah, I'm keen on them. Winter's coming, so I'm excited to have my own Corn-Fed Boost hoodie. The shirt's in the cupboard. I did contemplate putting it on. I was like, I got my Blink shirt on, it'll be right. Yeah, C18 swap Gemini would be sick. One of the moderators for, what's that website now? PCM Hacking. He had an SR Gemini that was really sick. Did a lot of track work in it. Yeah, thanks, mate. I have it. It's strange because 11k is cheap for a PPG dog box for a T56. I was quoted 12.5. And that was for just the gear set. I then had to install it into the box itself. Thanks, Integra. I wish you the best too, mate. I'll catch you guys, well, I'll catch you in the next video. Yep, Blink 182 shirt's sick. I got a 1AK Rock shirt when they had their concert in Brizzy. The missus took me to see them. If you're not familiar with them, they're a Japanese band. I would recommend them. On an L36, I don't know what the T56 is rated to, but I called Melwood that deal with a lot of T56 stuff, and I said to him, I'm like, oh, I got a T56 behind my Ecotec, what sort of power do you guys reckon these things will hold factory? And they're like, oh, I don't know, about 600 horsepower. This is a couple of days later after I just dynoed the thing and I made 750. I was like, okay, so I'm already pushing it pretty hard. No worries. But apparently there's an Aston Martin output shaft that's a bit thicker that I could go and upgrade to, but to upgrade to that, I also have to upgrade each of the gears, and the gears are like $400 or $500 a gear. So at that cost, I'd just slam a 4L60 in it, rated to 1,000 horsepower. I'm trying to do this without getting my finger in your way. Nugget Garage's Kevin is sick. Really looking forward to seeing him run a decent time at the drags and getting a crack at him myself. Yeah, I got the oil test results back from Ethel. I did go over this in my last live stream. Sweet, thanks Sweets. I'll get that, probably a notification on my phone any moment now. TR6060 I've heard is pretty beefy, and I probably should go down that route, although it's only, I think it's like 5.5 grams for a Magnum, and the Magnum will bolt straight into there, I believe, but it probably has a bigger output shaft, so I'd have to change the splines on the tail shaft. Holmart. I've never heard of Holmart, but I'll have to have a look. I will research that. Quickest way to run late 14s in a V6 Auto VX would probably be do a top swap for an L67 on it, up the boost a bit, and a decent tune. I doubt you might get one up the NA with pretty big cam and a good tune in it, but I wouldn't take my word for it. The Beamer's not loud, it's stock as a rock. I could start it now and you probably wouldn't even hear it. Shazzy Gang streaming on the phone. Probably gonna die any moment. So when the Getrag exploded, I did explore all my options. The T5 though I heard was far weaker than the Getrag, although you can get kits to make them stronger, but the strengthening kits don't make them stronger than the T56, considering it's held 750 so far and I beat the shit out of it every time I drive it. I'm pretty happy with the decision I made, although I did get pretty lucky. Turns out, responded to a Facebook post of someone selling a T56 to suit an Ecotec, of which I brought. It actually turns out to be a friend of mine. So yeah, when I brought it, it already had the V6 bell housing and the T56 bits. Didn't have any tail shaft or anything, so I had to modify that myself. The hoist is sick. I love the hoist. Dumbass me though made them a little bit too narrow, and so the adjustment cables for the balance aren't quite perfect, so I'm going to have to machine down some little spaces on the lathe just to space them up a bit so I can get the proper adjustment on them to get it lifting at the same time. It's close now, but I want to get it better. Oh, okay. I didn't know Holmart. I never heard of them. I'll have to check it out. The blown motor, I had an old extra motor, did a top swap, will it need a tune? So this is where it gets weird. I say yes because you can never really know for sure. Put a wideband in it and check. Um, but to be certain, yes, you probably could get away with it if you had a wideband in it and ran 98 and maybe even a couple of octane boosters. But I'd be very sus on it. The best way to get the most bang for buck out of it is going to be to get a tune on it. Just because they're going to be able to dial everything in and make sure everything's perfect from AFRs to timing. See the L67 timing, I haven't looked at it, and right up the top end it does take a lot of timing away. But every motor's different. That motor could have wanted more timing than that motor and vice versa. Knock sensors are going to help, but they're not foolproof. For those that are curious, Ethel actually doesn't run knock sensors. It's probably a stupid idea. The tune was pretty much bang on. There was a little bit of a rich dip in a couple of spots and a couple of pulls that I leaned out. We added a degree of timing in on wastegate pressure. First pull it made 560, then we leaned it out that little bit and added a degree of timing and it made 580 something. And then I turned the boost controller on and it just went up, and I didn't touch timing since. I did ask Scott, I was like, hey, should I throw another degree into it and see what happens? He goes, I don't know, I don't really know the motors. He goes, 2J's, I'd be 20 degrees into it right now. And I looked at it and went, oh, I'm only 14 and a half, 15. I'll just leave it where it is. No point stressing it out any more than what it is. It's already making 700 plus horsepower. So I didn't bother. We did have a lot of trouble getting the boost to hold flat though. The boost controller was really sensitive because I got 20 pounds worth of spring into it. 27% duty cycle on the boost control solenoid. If I just held it at flat 27, it'd come up and then taper off. So I had to sort of incrementally increase it to try and get it to hold flat. No worries, Johnny. Turbo 350 fully worked. 36 element sprag, extra thick wide band, 4L60E center support. I didn't know the 60E center support would be any good, but I guess so. Extra clutches are good. 5-pin planetary gear set. Honestly, I don't know. That sounds like a pretty extensive build, but I thought the Turbo 350s normally get a billet input shaft as well to sort of handle some decent power. No worries, sweets. It was good to talk to you, bro. I will see you guys next one. I'm probably gonna call it quits soon. Yeah. Turbo 350s are basically a Turbo 400. I don't know, what are you pushing through it now? Yeah, I was quite surprised actually at how close the tune was at Nugget. We did notice a phenomenon though, right at the very top end. The air-fuel ratio would just sort of richen off. Scott said to me that something's running out of flow there. I reckon it's the standard throttle body, hence why I want to test with a bigger throttle body. 75 or 100 horsepower nitrous kit, depends on what you're doing the nitrous kit for. If, spoiler alert, I want to put one on Ethel to bring it on sooner. But I'm only going to go about a 50 shot, maybe a 75 if I really need to. The thing with boost is boost compounds nitrous, so your 75 turns into 100 or more, etc, etc. If you're just using it to bring the turbo on, you don't need much at all, really. $500 and would put up to 1,000. I think 1,000 might be a bit much for it. 500 would probably be pretty safe at the moment, but I think you start, or the Turbo 350s and Turbo 400s need some billet bits in them to handle up near 1,000. Best quarter mile time so far in Ethel is a 12.4 second at 110. I'll update it on the Facebook page, but I actually have the video of that pass. And first it hooks, I grab second, it rips in second, and I grab third. And the Hoosiers on it were only on a 6-inch wide tyre, so it just sort of wanted to push me off the track. So I back off, it straightens out, so I get into it again, it holds straight, and as soon as I grab fourth, it goes for it again, so I just back off it again. It would have been a pretty fast pass if I could have held the power down for the whole length of the track, but I couldn't. Best pass it's done on street tyres is 12.9 and 114, I think it was. I want to get my 10 though. Yeah, Mace Engineering do a 69mm throttle body. It's, I think, about a 10mm upgrade for what's on their factory. They're not very big at all from factory. They're only just 60mm, I think, last time I measured one. I'd have to go and remeasure, but yeah. They're not very big at all, which is probably what's choking it, especially up in the upper RPM. So I want to try and test with a bigger throttle body. I'd really like Mace to come on board and help with the sponsorship of one of those throttle bodies. They have claims on their website of them having one on a 750 horsepower 750 horsepower Ecotec, but they had it on there, so I want to test one and see what the difference is going to be on this going from a stock to an oversized throttle body. Bread van sounds familiar. I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it out there. Good to hear that it's hanging in there, insane burnout. I think 1,000 horsepower might be a bit much for it. Maybe do a bit more research. Haven't seen a red 33 GDR. I normally try and take on everything I can when I was out there. Last time I wanted to get a crack at a 35 and didn't get a chance. Yes, oversized throttle body, you will need to retune it because it does upset the standard tune. I want to see Ethel hit the drag strip as well, Steve. I want to see a territory there as well, so maybe we can get a run against each other. Oh, it was? What the hell is a bread van? I was at that panel van thing. I don't know. I don't know what completely stock Ecotec can take. I intend to find out. So stick around, subscribe if you're not. The Corolla van, which one? Was that the CA thing that was beating everything? It was the one, I think it is. I think it's the one that Scott wants to beat. So Scott, probably shouldn't stay too much, but anyway. Scott's got his eye on that bread van, if that's the car that I think it is. I didn't know it had a 1J in it. The one Scott wants is the one. It might be the bread van with the 1J, but I think the one Scott wants is the CA one. Yes, I'd love to go roll racing in Ethel after the virus, but these NT05s are spanked and they just fry tyre. Ethel owes me way too much. I try not to think about it, but seeing as I've had to build the engine twice now, I'm into it anywhere from about 30 grand or more. That includes buying the car, of course. Yep. Daniel, that's my next option. Yeah, I don't think about it, Steve. That's my next option. Modify the Plenum to take a nice LS throttle body on there. As far as I'm concerned, yeah, it is worth every cent, but that doesn't include the last 5 or 6 years worth of my time building everything on it, tuning it, all the fab work, all the paint work. That doesn't account my time in it. That's just parts alone. Hey Chad, you are late, buddy. I am thinking of closing it up soon, but seeing as you guys are liking it so much, I'll slow crawler. Yeah. He got second the night that I was out there, and he goes, he goes to me, "Oh, did it stay together?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm driving it home. That's the best bit about it all." And I go, "What about you?" He goes, "Oh, I got second." I go, "Oh, what's in it?" He goes, "CAA running, I think it was 40 pounds of boost and like 150 shot of nitrous." I said, "Oh, she'll be right, mate. Just cram some more nitrous into it and you'll probably win next time." I'm drinking Suntory Steve. It's Japanese whiskey. The 245 NT05s on the back of Ethel, just, they can't. No, that's right, bro. That's why I could never sell it. I'm into it way too deep to ever sell it. 205s on this thing are interesting. Even these are interesting. 1,000 horsepower weather, it's like 2,000 horsepower weather. That car is sick. That is the drift car build plans. Fine then, roll away. Okay, so finish the live stream when I finish this. No, but Ethel's not finished. I still have future plans for it. My 800 horsepower plan has still been, or now bumped up. I want more. It's the difficultness of it. Crazy front wheel drive to rear wheel drive build. That's right. So Jazza, yeah. Favorite Nissan is R32 GDR. I have had an R31. I was 3/4 of the way through putting an RB25 DET into it. Mounted the motor, gearbox, was starting on the wiring. Back then I knew nothing about wiring. Fried 2 ECUs and sold it for a fraction of what I should have, and I regret that ever since. Oh, that's good stuff. Where was I? Yeah, something. Jezel said something. Hang on, guys. Yeah, the drift build. So, some of you might know, some of you might not, but I have an MX-6 sitting in the backyard of where I was living before. It was, or it is front wheel drive, I should say. It is a turbo model, it's not an all wheel steer model, so my plans for it were, well, still are, but they've just been postponed a bit because this has taken the engine and some of the bits for it, but to rip the front wheel drive motor out of it, fab up some upper control arms, slap a live axle in the rear end and skid and drift the shit out of it. First car... So my first car was a Mazda 626. It was my mum's. I was maybe 14 or 15. I since me and my mates took it out one night and we're doing reversies in a paddock, and killed the engine in it, and she was incredibly angry at me, which is understandable. That ended up getting scrapped. I then had another MX6, not MX6, 626, 80s model rear-wheel drive. I ended up buying another one cheap for myself as a first car. I cut the springs in it. I used to do hoops in second on the spot, just stock. It was great. I loved it. It was obnoxious. But again, my mate jumped in it one morning and goes, "Oh, I'm going to do a skid." And I said, "Alright, go for it. Go do your skid." So just don't do it in reverse. So what does he do? Dumps it in reverse, kills it, dead. So if you've got a 626, don't do skids in reverse. And I remember back then when I was 15, I used to say to my mate, "I wonder if a 13B will fit in this thing. It's got to. It's a Mazda. Surely a Mazda engine will fit into it." And a lot more of them have been popping up since, because I would have loved to build a rotary Mazda, especially a 626. I think that would have been sweet. Biggest number of horsepower out of an Ecotec at the moment is Jet V6 at 1050. He also has a billet crank. I am aiming... Yeah, that's a police copper. I am aiming to take that record from him with a stock crank. I don't know if I'm going to get there though. Wish me luck. K30, yeah, they were good cars. I had a friend that had one as a first car. Biggest horsepower out of this thing so far is the 755. It is sitting at number 3. When I went through the list, I noticed that the guy in number 2 is only making 760, and I fucking forehead slapped myself and said, why didn't I push a couple more PSI through it? But it's always those couple more PSI that get you, isn't it? Should have pushed it a bit more. I knew I should have. The problem is my goal for the dyno day was if I got anywhere near or above 700 horsepower, I was happy with it and I called it there. And that's what I did. Scott said to me, "You good there? Do you want to go again?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm pretty happy there." It was starting to get a bit cringy for myself. I was just waiting for the clutch to slip, waiting for something to happen, because we were on the dyno for over an hour, just constantly over 500. There wasn't anything under 500 horsepower for over an hour, and so I got a little bit concerned. But I got to the goal that I want to be at, so I'm happy with the result. Yeah, really want to do a 626 rotary. I'd love to do a rotary in anything really. I'd slap one in a Commodore if I had a rotary and a Commodore, but I don't. What else? I'd love to do a Corolla build actually. This is a front wheel drive. I used to have a A82 hatch I brought from a friend. He did a 16 valve conversion in it. The thing would rip. I used to rev it out to 8.5 grand all the time. It was baby blue. I really wanted to yank the 4A 20 valve out of it and drop a GZE into it, the supercharged version, and then convert it to turbo. I had a lot of good stories that those blocks took a lot of boost. What about you guys with this stock block thing? Have you thought of anything that you want me to test on it? I'm probably going to be going the eBay turbo route just because the budget doesn't allow for anything other than that. But is there anything other than that you want me to test out? Rockers. Actually, would like to test if rocker ratios make any difference. Give it a go. Oh. Keen out for the Beamer build? Yeah, mate, so am I. Yes, it is that one last pull. Skid the VT, sorry mate. Not here. Yeah, K20s have got to be full of rust. Well, I do notice that a lot of rotary guys are always working on their cars, but then I'm always working on my car too, so. Yeah, torque doesn't really bother me. L67 build, yeah, I could do that. I wouldn't mind doing an L67 build one day. Maybe I can buy a cheap L67 nugget and we'll go over all the L67 mods. But I think Gearheads Oz is about to go and do all that sort of stuff on that new nugget they brought. Dyno numbers are just a number, it's the track where it all matters. It also proves your dyno numbers. I did think about calling out Scotty. Scotty's channel's pretty big being Street Machine though, he's got a big backing there. And I don't really have the money, the funds, the budget or the capabilities to get down and run him in a eco mode, unless I take that, but yeah, I'm thinking about doing Friday night live streams every Friday, just to hang out with you blokes. Friday nights I'm not usually doing too much, unless I just picked up my kids from their mum, at which point they'll normally be in bed about this time anyway, so I was thinking of making this a regular sort of thing. Get to hang out and chat with you blokes. I'd love to call out Scotty on that L67 build and take on max performance in that Barra, but that Barra's making some pretty good numbers. Thanks, Hayden. Yeah, I mean, I'm keen for it too. I'd like to try and make it a regular thing, as long as you guys are up for it. Yeah, tying me down to Melbourne would help, but I mean, there's no point in me racing them in Ethel, especially seeing as there's no racing at the moment. That would be more suited, and I'd love to do it in that, as long as I can get the time off work to take that to Melbourne and race them. So keep it in mind, if it's opportune wise, sure, I'd love to. Yeah, well that's what they were saying in their videos today, that they were going to do Rocky Nats with, was it the VN? I think it was the VN. Yeah, L67 with 40 PSI would be more fun than a stock Ecotec. Hey Michael, glad you enjoy my content. Sorry to hear you're in lockdown in NZ, but I think your Prime Minister's on the money there. I wish ours would do something no, not stupid, but proper, although I think from what I've heard the numbers are starting to come down, but max performance Barra is making 460 kilowatts. That's very impressive. I can't remember what the dyno was on the video of it that I watched. The pipe. Oh, come on, Steve. The pie cut intake pipe will change when I change to an LS throttle body. And that's probably the only way it will ever be able to change. About halfway done, guys, so keep your questions coming, otherwise we'll call this a night soon. As soon as that drink's done, I'm going to call it a night, I think. So for those of you that don't know, I mean, I'm sure you might have spotted it in my videos, but the intake pipe into the throttle body is pie cut. my mate here, Steve, messes with his OCD greatly. I'm starting to get a bit of a kick out of it. But the reason that it's pie cut is the ABS sensor is right there, so I don't have enough room for enough radius bend to put a bend in there, which is why I did the pie cuts to begin with. Obviously it doesn't affect power, it still makes 750 horsepower, but it really doesn't look that nice. I would like to change it, but to do that I want to change to an LS throttle body, at which point I can weld on a 45 alley bend and mold that into the throttle body or the intake to get the LS throttle body in it, and then from there I'll change that intake pipe. I think Rocky Nats are off. Well, I think they've been postponed anyway. The Ecotec into the BMW is going to be a struggle. Last night I was on the phone to my friend and I came out here and popped the bonnet and had a look to realise that the 318i is a rear facing sump as opposed to the front facing sump of an Ecotec. So I haven't worked out my plans with it yet, but all I know is it's going to be a challenge, and I think I'm up for the challenge. I hope. It's going to be a struggle. How has the lockdown in NZ been for any of you NZ players out there? Is it a struggle? I mean, I can imagine it would be. Yeah, man, so am I. I'm hoping I can answer just about everyone's questions with it, and make a pretty cool car at the same time. It's gonna make it very interesting, and I'm not looking forward to it in the slightest. I got a couple ideas around it. Thankfully I can weld aluminium, which is going to be a big help, but yeah, fun. True. Yeah, I struggled to keep myself entertained on YouTube for today. Yes, I know the FG has a rear sump, but that also means dollars to buy an FG motor. Yep, so I'm going to make the engine mounts, I'm going to make the trans mounts. Shouldn't be too difficult. I've got a pretty good idea on how to go about it, but I'm looking forward to having a crack at it. Yes, definitely worth being an apprentice mechanic. So for those of you that don't know, I'm 32 years old. I started my apprenticeship, it was like 5.5 years ago now, so when I was 27, I think. Don't quote me on it, my maths sucks, but absolutely, adult-based apprenticeships are the go, and if you can find an employer that's willing to hire you, I would definitely recommend it. Oh, nice, 4G63 and an L300, that's sick. I love 4Gs, I love Evos. Oh, I didn't know that was there. I really love an Evo 9. I've always wanted an Evo 9. But if I had to pay for it, I'd buy an R32 first. Power Cruise this year. I'd love to do Power Cruise. Every time, just same thing with drifting. Every time I say I want to do Power Cruise, something happens, I've got to fix the car, there's something wrong. Yada, yada, yada. Same with Jamboree? Yeah, Jamboree. I want to enter Jamboree, and I would love to do it this year if it's on. I don't know how it's going to be with this corona nonsense, but if it's on, the car's working, I don't have any issues that I need to sort out. I do need to yank the transmission out of it again, but if it's on, the car's working, I want to enter Jamboree. I think it'd be so much fun, and I want to do it. Yeah, I'd like to get some Brembos, but what was it? Yeah, I don't really have the money. Everything's sort of coming down to money at this stage. Just with the mortgage, we just brought the hoist. Um, I'm gonna have to pump as much as I can. I mean, cringe and save and scrap every last little bit to get this thing sorted. Um, Four pots are out of the question for that thing at the moment. I'm not trying to track day it. It stops fine at Willowbank at the moment. The hoist was 20, just under 2,400 delivered to my door, which for the weight capacity and what it does, yeah, I'm really happy with it and I'm really looking forward to it. There's a crate sitting in front of me of a product of theirs that they've sponsored me, and I'm looking forward to getting into that because that's going to make doing a lot of this work a lot easier. And I look forward to working with them more and getting some more of their tools. They do a lot of tools. Before an apprentice mechanic, I was a forklift driver, and I still love cars, but I bombed around on a forklift all day, and it kind of messed up the joint in between my shoulder blades and my back. Every now and then it hurts a bit, but I was a forky. It wasn't anything special. The Galant block. That's the 4G, is it? What they call it? I can't remember. Do you watch Jaffro Mobile? I love his videos. Really keen to see that Elantra rip. Yeah, I know. And when I was searching for hoists, Chassis Gang Hap is the manufacturer of the hoist. Jaffro is sick. Love his videos. Really keen to see the Elantra rip, and really keen to see his DSM rip again. Hap is the company that makes the hoist. They're based here in Brizzy. Like I said in my video installing it, they've come and sponsored me. But they don't make just this hoists. They do tons of hoists. Don't take my word for it. Go and check out their website, hap.com.au. They do scissor lifts, belly lifts, 4 posters, 2 posters, clear floors, just about every sort of lift you can think of. Based here in Brizzy, ready to ship. I think just about all of it. They also have another 200, well, they have another 100 products on their website, from tool trolleys to jacks to go jacks and all that other sorts of stuff. So check them out if you're in the market for a lift. I definitely recommend them. Best thing I ever did was put that lift in. $10K for an L300 with an Ecotec. Jack stands suck ass, dude. Love my lift so much. Best thing I ever did. I mean, I've done it on jack stands for the last 10 years or more. It's doable, but yeah, the lift is uncomparable. It's so much better. I can't imagine paying 10 grand for an L300 full stop, unless it's got like some crazy built 2J in it. 10 grand is way too much. No worries, Shazzy Gang. It's good to see you. Thanks for joining in. Any other questions before I end the video off? My drink's starting to get on the low side. Did he? Yeah, I thought that was his friend's, or the tuner's L67. I know Boosted Built Garage has the Ute. Didn't know that he had an L67. No worries, Hayden. I'll see you next Friday on the next live stream. Hey, thanks mate. Happy Easter to everyone as well. Um, Not many chalky eggs for me, just one kick-ass Rocky Road one. Yeah. First, I mean, I haven't been following it closely, but I haven't seen a video from him for a while. Last I saw, he did the LS core conversion. I know he's been working on some oil filter relocation adapter plates for the oil pumps on the Ecotec, which looks like a good thing. I'm glad to see he's doing some R&D on it. Yeah, I never really explained about the... No worries, Sam. I'll catch you in the next one. I'm going to try and make this a weekly thing. I know it's like trying to get kids to bed, it's a struggle. Good luck. Yeah, so the oil analysis for Ethel was kind of vague. Horsepower benefit, yes and no. So I'm using bog standard LS1 coils that came off a wrecked LS1 engine. I bought them used on eBay, and it's making 750 horsepower of them. It is at their limit, and what I mean by that, you can use them to make more power, but they don't physically make more power unless you have the turbo or other supporting mods to use them. So I think one of the pulls we did, we had a boost spike to about 33 psi, and it blew out the spark. I made a little comment in one of my videos. So they did take a little bit more dwell. Scott spotted that I didn't quite have enough dwell in the settings for them, and he said that they'll handle about 3.8 seconds of dwell, so I upped it to that. And yeah, we haven't had any problem with them since. But I think as soon as I go to run more than 33 psi, I'm going to start to see the limit of those. So the next best thing is the truck coils. The truck coils are a step up from the standard LS1 ones, but bang for buck, the LS1 coils, you can't go wrong. Ethel has the 2200cc injectors. They are from Sonic Performance. They weren't really that dear, about $100 and something an injector, so I can't remember what I paid for it, but it was under $700 for the 6 of them. I got my 1000cc's in my toolbox over there. They're going to go in this thing, just because I have them. And we're using about 60% of them to make 750 horsepower on E85, so that equates to like 1400 cc's approximately. And it explains it. I could see the duty cycle in the tune in the thousands. It was just out. It would smash 100% all the time. Tune for an Ecotec in Sydney. I don't really know of anyone in Sydney. I know there's a couple of places in Melbourne that are doing it, but I'm not sure about Sydney, man. I'm sorry. How many of you guys like fishing? Yeah, that is a very good idea actually. I probably should. They're pretty gummed up underneath just from all the oil from the original build, because the engine ended up with a lot of oil in the intake plenum, and it used to seep through to the injectors and gum the injectors up a lot. But that was because I had a lot of trouble with valve stem sealing. Love fishing too, Bow. We just got the boat. You've probably seen it in a few videos. I haven't had a lot of time to get out in it, but the times that I have, it's been good. I never really catch anything though, so it doesn't really. Brizzy for a tune. I hear Bushworks 66s is doing tunes on the standard ECU, but I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about him. No worries, Chas Roberts. Oh, you're heading out on Sunday? Yeah. Wish I had the fuel in my tinny, I'd go and take it out too. I did have a full tank, but it somehow evaporated in the damn boat. Yeah, I realised, man, sorry. Love to go out fishing. I just brought 2 new rods when my family in-law was in town to take them out fishing, and I didn't get a chance to use them because the swell was too big and my boat was too small, and it was terrifying. I never want to experience that again. How do you tune yourself? VYS pack. They should be flash based, so you should be able to download Tuner Pro, then go on to PCMhacking.net, download the Ones Flash tool. From there you can pull the bin off the ECU, upload it to Tuner Pro, make any changes that you want to, and then reflash it back to the ECU. It's a bit of a process, and it's not really my favourite way of tuning it, but you'll be able to give it a tune. I don't know what you're going to tune for on a standard VY, but you might be able to squeeze a little bit more timing into it. The standard injectors aren't going to sort of put up with much. VYs are good that way. They're sort of like the LSs. You can pull the tune out of it. The hoist is a single phase. It is on a 15 amp plug. I'd like to take you over and show you, but I can't. I've just got a 10 amp to 15 amp a plug adapter. It basically has like a socket on it, small lead, and a breaker switch, which is great. It's been able to run it so far, so good. I use it for my welder because my welder's also 15 amp, and I don't have a 15 amp plug here in the shed, and I didn't have one at home as well. And I think I'm gonna get another one for the hoist and just slap it back onto the welder, because I haven't been able to. I've had it trip once at work when I was trying to weld some pretty heavy stuff, but around here at home and everything I've done for this, I haven't had it trip the safety switch yet. So the hoist also seems to be working fine off it, so I'm just going to go and grab another one of them and call it done. Worth the time. If it's rich in a spot, yeah, you can lean it out. If it's lean in a spot, you can richen it up, make it safer. Timing wise, I don't think you'll get too much out of it. It's going to be a bit of a headache. For a stock car, not really. You will be able to fiddle with the automatic settings in it though, so that'll probably be more worth it. You'll be able to sharpen up the shifts and run a bit more line pressure to clamp those clutch packs together, but it might also kill your box a bit quicker. Basically what I'm going to be doing to keep the stock 4L60 alive in this thing, pump up the line pressure, sharpen up the shifts in it, and just cross my dick that it holds together. So, plans for tomorrow, I've got to, hungoverly, I'm going to be pretty hungover, but I've got to go and pick up the motor for this thing. I've got to pick up my engine hoist or engine crane, engine stand with engine on it. I want to get the transmission and a torque converter and flex plate if I have them. I'm pretty sure I got them kicking around there somewhere. As much other garbage as I can. I got a couple of air compressors as well that I want to pick up, but I'm going to probably mount them. So behind the shed on the back wall, there's another shed. I think I'm going to put the air compressor in there and just run a lead. And I've got another air line out there. I'll run out to it, to the hose reel up in the corner here. So that'll give me shop air and my engine crane, which I'm going to need to yank the engine out of this thing. And then that's going to be the next video. It's probably not going to be nothing too crazy, but I've got to yank the engine out of it and the transmission, and I want to try and mock up the the Ecotec in there and see if it's physically going to fit. Width-wise and length-wise, I'm not too worried about. Width-wise is going to be a little tight. Height is my biggest concern. They're pretty tall, the old Ecotecs. Yeah, 200 kilowatts from a L67 seems to be about the go-to number. There's not too much more that they can run. I mean, you can get more out of them, but the cost that it takes to get the L67s to make decent power without slapping a turbo on it is ridiculous. I made 200 kilowatts on my L36 with 10 psi and a water methanol kit. So that was my T70 eBay turbo as well. So nuggety ass exhaust manifolds. First time I'd ever made a set of turbo manifolds, and they were rubbish. Come a long way now, and I'm really happy with these ones and the way they've turned out. I don't think I'll ever have to update these ones unless the rust gets too much, but yeah. Stock cranky and Ethel. Stock as a rock. L67, same one that came out of the engine from this car. It has been ground 10 thou though, because there was a bit of bearing transfusion onto the rod journal where it tried to wipe out the bearing last time. Apart from that, stock as a rock. Yeah, because the 186s are sick, or better yet, 202s are better. You slap the 173 head on them, a good Holly, a Yellowterra cam, and you can make more than a supercharged Ecotec. I haven't played around with a 202 or a 186 or a 173. My last car was a 173 actually. It was a white VH. Whoops, sorry guys. Because XU1. I brought an eBay XU1 tune once. Worst mistake ever. It fucking did nothing. It was horrible. Rough cost of turbo VX with L67, man. That is a fairly vague question. One, you're going to need L36 cylinder heads and intake manifold. Two, you're going to need turbo manifolds, a turbo, injectors, fuel pump. A way to tune it. So normally I would budget anywhere from 3 to 5 or 6ish grand. It's going to depend on quality of parts and how you want to go about it. 179s are the go. Mine was a 179 blue. I thought it was a 202 because it was in a VH. So if you watched this is my Turbo Ecotec video, the one where I revealed the paint on this car. The first thing you see is a white VH Commodore. It's taken in the driveway of where I used to live. You can see the bush next to it. No one probably picked up on it, but that was my last VH Commodore that I ever owned. The thing was mint. It was white. It had a little bit of damage on the back here, and I resprayed the back of it, and that was it. It was mint. It had a small tear in the driver's seat, but it had the green velour interior, and it was a 179 or 178. I think the blues were at 178. Can't remember. It's been several years now. But I thought it was a 202. I brought a 3070 Crow cam for it, thinking it was a 202. Thankfully, they're all the fucking same, and it still fit and worked in there perfectly. I also brought the Yellowterra. Ah, nice. Mine was a 4-speed as well. It was originally Trimatic, but I converted it to the 4-speed. But it wasn't the M21. It was just the clunker, the Aussie 4-speed or whatever they call it. I also brought the Yellowterra cam gears, and eventually did Yellowterra roller rockers on it. Oh, my phone's going to die, so this is going to happen very quick. I'll finish this story, finish this drink, and then that's going to be it. So, brought the Yellowterra gears for it. I could only fit the cam one on. I couldn't get the crank gear off. Was the crank? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the crank. Couldn't get the crank gear off the crank. Didn't realise that it was just crappy fibres and I could have broken it. But eventually, I was driving to work one day because it was my daily driver. I was giving a couple of boys a lift home from work that day. This happened twice, both when they were in the car. And they've gone, oh, this thing goes alright. I was like, oh yeah, so I just matted it, shifted back, matted it up to 5,000 RPM. Brrr. Oh fuck. That's not good. What's going on there? Pull over, pop the bonnet, pop the cap off the Dizzy, wind it over. Okay, the Dizzy's not turning. It's just spun another plastic gear on the distributor, which was the first time that happened. Same thing. Oh shit, this thing goes alright. Give it a bit. And so I gave it a bit, stripped the plastic gear off the bottom of the distributors. Those that don't know, 202s, 186s, 179s or 173s have a plastic gear on the bottom of the distributor, munches them. When I rang around to get a new gear for that distributor, one old bloke from a company that I spoke to goes, oh, why don't you just pull the gear off the oil pump? I say, what? Why? He goes, well, one, they're brass, and two, they're the same gear because it runs on the same gear drive. I was like, oh shit, you're right, they are, and they do. Towed the car home, picked up an old oil pump I had, knocked the roll pin out, pulled the brass gear off, slapped it on the distributor, put the roll pin back in, slapped it back in the car, reset the timing, away I went. Second time round, matted it again, same thing happened. Just died, pull over, pop the cap off. Ah, it's just stripped another one of those plastic, it's just stripped the brass gear. Why would it strip the brass gear? I just fucking did that. Anyway, towed it back home, pulled the Dizzy out, brass gear still intact. I went, oh, hang on a minute, what's going on there? Couldn't think of anything else. Pulled the rocker cover off, rockers aren't working. Oh, why isn't the cam spinning? Yeah, I know, either did I. But keep it in mind, because the oil pumps, the brass gear, same gear, they fit perfectly. I'm glad I know that now. Any other 202 I ever get will get a brass oil pump gear straight away. If you've got a spare engine with an oil pump on it, yank the oil pump off it, take the brass gear, slap it on your Dizzy. You'll never have another problem with it again. Because I brought a worked engine with a bloke that had a brass gear on it, and I always wondered, where the fuck do you get these brass gears from? Anyway, I digress. So, cam wasn't spinning, rockers weren't working. I've gone, what the hell's going on here? It's got to be something strange is going on. Popped the timing cover off, and I'd taken a good third of chunk off the fucking aluminium cam gear because I didn't swap the crank gear and only ran. Robbed that brass gear off it, man. That thing's gold nowadays. You can't get them anymore. Yeah, so I took like a good chunk, like a third of the gear off this aluminium Yellow Terra gear. Had to go back, order another set of Yellow Terra gears, get them both off the engine, fish the chunk out of the sump of the engine, and then refit both gears, and never had any trouble with it since. Until I sold it, and I never should have sold that car. The car would be worth probably 5 or 6 times what I've paid for it now. But that is the way of life. Anyway, boys, that's the end of my drink. My phone's literally screaming at me that it's going to die. It's been wonderful to have you all here. Thank you all for the comments. Thank you to the fellow that made the donation. I can't thank you enough for that. Really wasn't expecting it. It's going to go back into the car and the channel should I need equipment or anything, but I'm pretty set for equipment at the moment, so it's going to go back into the car. Have a good weekend. Happy Easter. Have a wonderful long weekend, thankfully, although for those guys that aren't on lockdown, I'm considered an essential service, so thankfully I'm on holidays. Yeah. Hopefully we can make this a regular thing. Good way for me to get in touch with you guys and have a good old chat and just hang out. Good stories like me old 202. Geez, I haven't thought about thing in ages. I've enjoyed it. Stay tuned for this. like I said, tomorrow is going to get all the bits for it. I'm hoping sometime. My wife's going to be home tomorrow and Sunday, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to. It's the only 2 days a week I get to see her, but I'm going to do my best to go and get the bits. And then Monday, Tuesday, while I have the time off, I gotta yank the engine out of it and see if she can fit. Yeah, man, head over to the Facebook page for a manifold. Alternatively, the website, cornfedboost.com. There's a contact me page. You can get in contact with me there. Definitely have drinks ready for next time. I sure am. Well, actually, I'm running low. I'm going to do my best to have some drinks there. Friday night's my drink night. So, yeah, it's been wonderful. It's been good talking to you all. A lot of good questions. And I will see you guys in the next one. Working on this nugget. Hopefully getting some shit done. Bye bye.